Well. Good evening, everyone. There's a little notification that we are live, and for those of you that were on board here yesterday, that's 2 nights in a row, which is a little bit of a rare thing. But hey, when there's good things going on, it's wonderful to be able to share content your way. And from the Farmer Incubator Project last night to Australia Art in Nature tonight, I couldn't be happier because they're two fantastic projects, and it's a real treat to be able to share these projects with you. Now, for those of you that know my love for nature art and doing anything in nature with children is, one of my greatest passions. So when I saw this project, I was incredibly excited to be able to share it with you, because I know just how much so many of you have children in your orbit, in your world, not just your kids, but kids under your care as teachers, as environmental educators, as aunts, uncles, nanas, pops, as I mentioned in the post. There's so many ways that we all connect to children, and this is a real opportunity for all of us to have a look around at some of the nature art that's in our lives and maybe contribute it towards this project. So for those of you who are new to this broadcast, my name is Costa Georgiadis, and I'm broadcasting to you tonight from here in Sydney, Australia. I'm located in a suburb called Bondi, which is on Gadigal and Bidjigal land of the Eora Nation. And I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. And I suppose above all else, acknowledge that a project such as this is all about connecting children to nature. And when we connect them to nature, we connect them to country. When we connect them to country, we connect them to the story of not just our land, but the story of the land where you're all coming from. I noticed that someone is coming to us from Ghana tonight, which is fantastic. We've got people coming to us from Nowra, from the Central Coast, from far north Queensland. So we've got people joining us from all different parts of the country. And I'm really excited about that, because even there we have Adelaide. So if you could drop in, so Senyo Matthew Chawa, all the way from Ghana. G'day, Senyo, and a big welcome from all of us down under here in Australia. If you could, for example, put the place where you're coming from, in that case it was Ghana. If you are in Sydney, also if you can put the country name so that we can share the country name. As I said, this is Gadigal land of the Eora. So if you can share that, we can all learn about it. Crystal's down in Nowra. G'day, Amanda Hanger. Lovely to see you. I'm trying to make a sensory garden for my disabled child. Mandy, that's fantastic. Costa observing from Quandamuka, Moreton Bay. Thanks, Adam. That's fantastic. And Vanessa's on Ngunnawal country. Good evening from Perth. Sounds like a good topic. Yeah, it's a great topic. And I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful guest who I'm about to bring in for you to meet. And that's Ella, who's from Sisters Grimm and the project itself. And she's going to run us right through the project. We've got Amanda from Port Macquarie, Marianne from the Central Coast, South Windsor, Leon Matthew. Good on you, Leon and Paul. Leon Matthew and Paul Cooper. Melbourne City for Peter Wright. Good on you, Pete. Karingai Darragh. Selena. Hi, Selena. Looking forward to the Sydney Edible Garden Trail coming up real soon, as is the Sanford Edible Garden Trail. And before all of those, we have the Blue Mountains Edible Garden Trail, which kicks off in 2 weekends. And I'm very pumped about that. Lois from Windsor, Canberra, Deborah from Ngunnawal country. All right, so let me waste no more time and bring Ella in, who's joining us from a time zone 4 hours behind. So it's only 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Ella, Lovely to welcome you to the broadcast tonight. How are you?
Hi, Costa. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Really, really well, and very excited to learn more about the art project that you are doing. So, I suppose, well, first of all, whereabouts are you sitting?
So right now I'm sitting in Jakarta, Indonesia. We may possibly get out to Australia soon, but in the meantime, I'm here, and it's gorgeous and tropical, and you know, the nature here is wonderful, and I love the nature in Australia and everything in between. So, you know, it's really nice to be kind of essentially between where I'm from, which is the UK, and Australia at this point, sort of.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, we've got North Carolina. Annie's joined us. We've got Cloncurry, Mitagudi. We've got Wiradjuri country out in Bathurst. We've got Gorogorang, Terrebonne up in Bundaberg, up in North Queensland, Malini in Queensland, Bendigo, Djadjawarrung country, which I'll be down in next week, Thorian Lands, Queensland. Wow, we've got people joining us from everywhere. Oh, wow. Oh, there's so many. I can't go through them all because we won't get to the nitty gritty of the topic. So give us so that everyone can get in the picture and then start to ask questions and engage with this. Tell us about the project and where it began.
Okay, so we launched Art in Nature at the end of 2020, with the sort of first project kind of beginning right at sort of January of 2021. And it was born out of a desire for us to use our kind of mainstream arts output and platform to offer an opportunity to young people, to encourage them to engage with nature, and to do that by the kind of simple act of creating an artwork. As an artist myself, I really feel like you can kind of see beyond the surface of something when you're capturing it. In, you know, whatever your medium is, I think you're kind of looking at it from a different perspective. So we felt like this act was a really good way to foster and encourage that in young people. And we ran the first program in the UAE, and it, I think, exceeded everybody's expectations and was amazing. Yeah, it was really fantastic. And you know, the amount that it did, I think, for young people as well, also exceeded what we thought. And what it ultimately kind of what the outputs are, what it comes together as, is we take all of these artworks from young people of nature, and we bring them together in an online gallery, and all of them exist in this, you know, global platform that is this online gallery. And then a selection of them make up a music video for a new single that has been written specifically for the project. So everything is around this theme of nature. And with Australia, what's really amazing, and is exactly where we kind of want to be sitting in the role that we're playing with this project, and what we're helping kind of guide young people towards, is we're actually running this in parallel with a really interesting big bilateral project between governments, to do with using Earth observation data for agriculture. And personally, what I really love about that is that at the end of the day, what that really is about is getting more food on the table for the world sustainably. And of course, Australia is very uniquely placed for that because of the diversity that the whole country kind of offers in nature. And of course, First Nations people and Indigenous understandings of the land, you know, in the kind of purest sense, is king, really, which also sings very true to what we do, which is to do with international collaboration and giving people a voice. So one of the other things that we ultimately are kind of leading towards art in nature is encouraging young people to think about the science as well of environmentalism. So there's kind of two categories, and one is get outside and do an artwork of nature, anything, and it can be in your backyard, like your book says. In, you know, everyone in the suburbs can, you know, everyone, whether it's right in the center or in the suburbs, can engage with this and can find the nature that is surrounding them to create their artwork of. Or for those who want to kind of immerse themselves a little bit more in the intention of the whole overall long-term program, go and explore the science. And we have that up on the website, and that is coming from the government science agencies. And I've really geeked out over all of this. I'm absolutely loving it. And my collaborator and I, my songwriting collaborator, Corinne Gibbons, who's an amazing Australian woman, we wrote the song together that is going to be launched on World Water Day, which is the 22nd of March. And we're truly honoured that the song features Oswald Cruz, also known as Uncle Ozzy, the very amazing and special elder, who is featured in the track with his voice, which literally has depth for centuries in all senses of the word, really. So that's a kind of an overview of the project, and there's lots of different layers, and I love that we're having this conversation because there's so much that I think we have to talk about, and so many alignments, actually, I think, Costa, with everything that you have done and everything that you believe in, everything that you stand for, and ultimately what we hope to achieve long term with this program.
Wow. I hope everyone listening sort of got a good scope on what you just said, because there's really, I mean, you're talking about art, you're also layering that into music. So there's the visual arts, there's the musical side, but then there's the science, and then connecting that to the social science as well.
That's exactly it. And I mean, one of the things that we've also been very aware of is how important this is for young people on multiple levels, on the creativity, on the opportunity to have their work spotlit, and, you know, our music videos get seen by millions all over the world, and so, you know, that's an opportunity in itself. But then there's the like the basic fundamental thing of being among nature is good for mental health. And I mean, I literally can't bang on about this enough. I think for everybody, we should all be endeavoring to engage with nature every day, because it is so important for mental and physical well-being, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the act of an adult, and be that for early childhood from you know, 1 year old, well, even, you know, 0, literally getting your little one right out into nature is one thing, but from early childhood through primary school, that willingness is there, it's palpable. And I think the beauty of it is that willingness translates to the adults in their lives, because it brings the adults out into nature as well in the process of supporting them. And then I like the fact that you've also driven the project through to 18 years old, so that, you know, when I think about in our schooling system here with the HSC or the VCE, whatever it is, I mean, art is still a part of art's a big part of the high school program as well. So being able to recognise children beyond that year 6 into high school, I think, you know, there's a massive cohort of life there that is creative, that wants outlets, and you're giving them a vehicle and an opportunity to share it.
Well, exactly, and that's thank you for saying that, because that is exactly what the intention of the program has always been. And we can say it certainly was proven in the UAE and with Australia, with the submissions that we're getting back. We're already getting some absolutely stunning artworks from people all over Australia. It really is intended to be for absolutely everyone, and we've deliberately made it free to enter and very simple in how people can be part of it in order for it to be accessible for everybody. And I think that this thing of kind of democratizing arts and democratizing engagement with science and actually democratizing environmentalism too is so important. And if we can use the arts to help do that more around environmentalism and science, then brilliant. Because the other layer to this is that one of the partners involved is Csiro, and they have talked to us about how they need more young people to come through, because science, the space of science, like we use it more every day than we ever have at any other point in time, in history. And so there's huge job opportunities there, and not enough people are coming through. So, I mean, that's also this whole kind of social mobility, using arts, using music as the draw for something that ultimately, you never know, might be the thing that young person goes into professionally. And you never know whether that might also help to kind of create the new body of people who are going to come up with new solutions for climate change. I mean, that's my long-term ambition. I hope that in 20 years' time, we can kind of look back and go, oh, you know what, those young people engaged in the program every year, and look, it kind of helped, maybe it helped guide them towards becoming the amazing environmental scientists and innovators that they now are 20, 30, however many years down the line that might be. So, yeah. That's my belief. I believe that art has the power to do that, and art can be a communicator for subjects that aren't necessarily, strictly speaking, the arts.
Christy has said in the comment here, hi from Birpal land up in the mid-north coast, mother of 2 girls who love mud, insects, gardening and seeing animals in our yard. I mean, that freedom to express themselves in nature is the building block, and that's the breeding ground for the zoologists that will work at the CSIRO and be working in science in different capacities. So Christy, keep encouraging them and allowing them to be outside. Like this T-shirt, I thought I'm wearing some nature art here, and this was done by my good friend Summer Farrelly when she would have been less than 10 when she did this T-shirt, but she started a chickens as a therapy project at the age of about 10, and she's moved further into mental health and using not only just nature, but bringing health issues into the spotlight as a young person. So her artwork, she's done so much through her art, and I wanted to wear this tonight. It came to my mind this afternoon, and I thought I'm going to wear that because it's incredibly valuable art, and she's had a huge impact, and she has a massive following. So it's really, and I suppose I'll just put a question out to everyone listening. Going off what Ella was saying, where are you seeing that connection of not just young people, but connections of people to science in not just through art, but through nature, the role that science plays. And I see it a lot, Ella, through Citizen Science Australia and some of the wonderful projects that are going on as citizen science, be it through BirdLife Australia, be it through Bush Heritage Australia and the Queensland Trust for Nature, all of these different groups, Gardens for Wildlife in Victoria and Tassie. There's lots of groups that are literally doing this work, but what you're doing is giving the art a chance to bubble to the surface and really sing as music and canvas.
Exactly, and it's almost it's, you know, to also help to kind of spotlight some of those projects, because, you know, one of the things that I strongly believe, I'm the eldest of 6, so I kind of have a context of seeing young people kind of, you know, grow and what they can become if it's nurtured, you know. But I feel like a lot of young people don't perhaps know all the opportunities that are out there, or know where they could go and have that fulfillment that nature kind of gives people. And the two children who like mud and insects, you know, there's a woman who's a scientist who is extremely senior in academic science as part of this program, whose specialty is insects, because that affects agriculture. And so, you know, if your kids are into that, then, you know, let's find ways of fostering that. I would certainly encourage your girls to do an artwork and send it to us, because they might even see something slightly different in the insects and the mud and stuff that they're liking being around.
Pascal has said we need more emphasis on arts in schools. It's an interesting landscape we're in at the moment when you think about the nature of arts and arts funding and everything that's happened over the last couple of years, because unfortunately the arts were the first ones to be thrown out of the room. Yet, you know, we have to keep swinging and keep that flame alive and allow the curtain to rise again for our artists, be it musicians, be it any type of artistic endeavor. And I mean, a project like this, it seeds it from a young age, and that to me is why I really, you know, it caught my attention very quickly, because we need this sort of thing in lots of different layers, whether it's through art schools, whether it's through, as Michelle mentioned earlier, all schools being involved in projects like this, and getting it in front of teachers so that they can do it as concurrent project. Like it's something that could be part of it. It could just be something that they do anyway, that the students then submit, and then the whole school watches what happens, and maybe some of their students make it into the next stage, or who knows. But there's so many layers that we can connect with art schools, with early childhood centres. I put some of those down in the post, you know, whether it's environmental educators. There's many layers that we can bed a project like this into and get people involved.
Exactly, and you know, I think it's interesting in all schools, sort of anywhere that we've been lucky enough to go to, you know, around the world. There seems to be this, from the knowledge that I have, this kind of big separation between subjects, and actually it doesn't need to be that way. You know, there can be lots of crossover, and there are great teachers out there who see that, and you know, and who do a bit more kind of crossover work. But those, I think, you know, the projects that are crossover, Pietra and I as Sisters Grimm, all of our work is about collaboration, and it's all about addressing things that we want to see improved, you know, around the world. And a lot of those ultimately lead back to education, whether that's for adults or for young people. And you know, for those teachers that can kind of see beyond this strict curriculum thing and the cutting of the arts and the lack of emphasis on the arts, but that can actually kind of champion it more, then I genuinely believe, like, you know, more can be achieved. More can be achieved with more collaboration, more crossover between subjects, between people, you know, championing stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, Costa, but when my real champion and the person that inspired me the most in many ways was my teacher in school. I grew up in a rough area of England and in a quite rough neighborhood, but I had a teacher that sort of protected me, and in that when I didn't want to go to certain lessons, I was in music, and she created this bubble for me to just create music and write, and she paired me up with people to write songs. And it was, so my whole sort of learning in school actually nurtured me becoming the composer that I am. And that's the power of education, if you know, if you get the right educators.
Yeah. I going off what you just said, this comment here from Felicity about her students working and studying macroinvertebrates and testing their local water for over 6 years. We use art to portray the issues they see around them. That's exactly really a massive layer of what you're wanting to achieve with the project, isn't it?
Absolutely. Bravo, Felicity.
There's so many comments coming in. Just as a little bit of a reset for anyone who's just joined us, tell us a little bit about Sisters Grimm and how you came about and how nature bubbled to the surface for you in the work that you do.
Okay, so we as Sisters Grimm Pietra and I are the founders, and Pietra was in the Royal Ballet for 13 years, and I'm a composer and a painter, and together we formed Sisters Grimm in 2009, and we produce large-scale, internationally themed big productions. We have toured our shows all around the world. Pre-pandemic, we were mostly focused upon really big live theatre shows, and the one that people probably would know is Inala, a Zulu ballet. That's the one we got a Grammy nomination for, and it's kind of gone everywhere, and that was really fantastic, and that had nature featured in it through the sound design, and nature has always been a big part of the work that we've done. And then through the pandemic, we established Art in Nature as a program that we can run that really is an opportunity for young people to engage with our work by the simple acts of getting out in nature and doing an artwork, or engaging with the science that we would like to encourage young people to engage with, and creating their artwork of nature, but that is informed and inspired by the science. And I wanted to share a little story, actually. My youngest brother, Theo, he is currently now at, how old is he, 24, doing a oceanography PhD in Sweden. And he has just, literally 10 days ago, got back from a research trip to Antarctica, where they were on a huge research vessel. And when he was about 8, we were walking down the street, and I think I asked if he knew what he wanted to do when he was older. And he told me an idea that he had for a car that would be better for the environment. And he pointed to the side of the car and said, if the car had gills and they had little windmills in, then that could power the car. And I've remembered that ever since he told me. And actually, probably that, coupled with then him going into environmental sciences, has probably given me, in a way, the power and the desire to want to create a platform where we can try to capture and nurture these ideas and this leaning towards environmentalism that young people have. And there's certainly a lot of young people now, and I don't need to say this to you all, because I'm sure those of you who have kids or engage with kids know this even more than me probably, but there's a lot of concern for young people around environmentalism. It's one of the things that we've heard, my friends' kids all say that it's the biggest worry for them. So then finding ways of kind of getting them to engage in nature and see that there are positives and that there are solutions, that there are things that we can all do, and using arts as a way of kind of fostering that is ultimately what we're doing with this program.
Yeah, wow. The comments are coming in thick and fast. Selena said an interesting point about an article also be art and environment connection, albeit one for adults rather than children. But it's great to see the focus on children and their perceptions and expressions of the world through art and music, which is exactly what you're talking about. And art and music is such a, that's a formative thing. That's really how children express.
Exactly. There's, I think music has the ability to move people. I would say that because I'm a composer, but I do think it can create a kind of pathway into emotions that we usually don't give ourselves permission to feel. And so if we can what we do with this is sort of harness that as well to help give more weight and emphasis then to what the program can be and what the program can achieve and what the role that the program can play for young people long term. And it really is a long-term thing, but I think we're all in this together, aren't we? We're all concerned about climate change. We're all very aware of the fact that in the end it's the next generation that we really need to be those change makers who can ensure that this planet can continue. And if we can play a role in that through this program long term, then I would feel very proud and an honor to be kind of part of that continuing positive change.
I suppose the thing, just for everyone who's listening, what's to put in a nutshell, what do you want people to project, to have a look around for it? So you're looking for some nature art that children may have already done, and that is prêt-à-porter, so to speak, and could easily be photographed or sent through as a piece of nature art. And of course, encourage children to possibly create a work of art over the next week till midnight on Monday, this coming Monday. So tell us a little bit about what you're looking for and the fact that people may already have something that they could use, be it a grandparent who's got some art up on the wall or whatever it is. And explain that first and then tell us what's going to happen to the art.
Okay, so ideally we would love young people, so anyone under 18, to create a new artwork for this. So it's kind of done with the intention of the whole overall program. And there's the two categories. There is the one that is just do an artwork of nature, however you want, but it cannot be screen based. So that's quite important with this too, because we're wanting young people to really kind of have that physical connection with nature. So create your artwork and then email it to us, or upload it on the online form. If somebody has a piece of work that they've done that they really feel fits the bill and they are passionate about that being the artwork that they want to submit, we will consider it if it fits the bill. And for those who want to go a bit further with this, we would really like to encourage people to go on the website and look at the science side of what this program is relating to. And there's lots of tools that can be used to inspire these artworks that fit in with the program, which is to do with earth observation, and earth observation specifically for agriculture. Agriculture can be almost anything to do with nature, really. Everything affects it. We're all part of the same ecosystem. But there are so many fascinating tools that are open source, completely free for everybody to use. And it can, if a young person is sort of that way inclined, it can open and spark lots of ideas. I know for me, it sparked loads of ideas for me. And so that's our ideal, is that people engage in that side, because that's a kind of deeper education piece as part of the project. But we are open to any and all pieces from just of young people expressing their engagement with nature.
Well, that's nice in the sense that, teachers could look at it and say, hey, this is part of the study that we're doing about, be it bird life, or be it habitat, or be it biodiversity or soil or conservation, whatever it may be. But at the same time, it can be purely an expressive piece that is an emotive expression of a child's connection to, be it the backyard or the creek down the back of the at the end of the street, or the local bush reserve even.
Exactly. And we've had a sort of real diverse range of submissions already, from young people using leaves to, literally kind of land art, really, creating amazing, beautiful patterns that is their idea of a bird's eye view of flowers, and that's gorgeous, and that's like totally in line with the theme as well, in a very creative way. And that young person did that, took photographs, sent it to us. That is up there as one of our faves. And we've had a lot of really beautiful, amazing submissions, and I might choose one of them with Corinne, my Australian collaborator, as the album, the single artwork. And so there's sort of these different layers for young people in what where they'll get exposure, where their artwork may get exposure. And everyone gets a certificate of participation as well, which, for young people down the line, that's great, because that gives them something to put on their CV. As we're an international company that are recognised, so that can mean something for young people, particularly those that are getting towards the point where they might start to step into the world of work. So that's also something that we're, I suppose, encouraging young people to engage for that benefit as well.
Fantastic. Now, I'm just noticing in our green room that we may well have a special guest, although I'm not sure. So I'm just going to text our special guest and see whether she's available, and if she is, we can bring her in and hear from her. It was going to be a video, but we struggled with the video. But Kate Mcquillen is the oh yes, she is available. Yeah, that's a thumbs up. Is that a thumbs up? I think she is. So here we go. For everyone watching, for those of you that know, I'm Costa the Garden Gnome in Dirtgirlworld, and I'm very fortunate to be able to participate in an incredible environmental education project that has been going for more than 10 years. It was created by Kate Mcquillen and Huey Eustace, called Dirtgirlworld. Out of that has come Get Grubby program, Get Grubby TV, and really a lot of it is underpinned on everything that Ella's talking about, which is connection to nature, connection to art. Dirtgirl is all about empowering children and their connection to nature. And Kate is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to this form of environmental education. It gives me great pleasure to bring her into the chat. Kate, wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful to have you join us. I wasn't sure whether it was going to happen. The video didn't quite work earlier, and then I saw you pop in, and I thought, you beauty, for everyone watching. I was really hopeful that I'd have Kate and Ella as part of this broadcast, so I feel like the boxes are going beyond ticking. We're busting them open. So, Kate, meet Ella, and Kate, tell us a little bit, just for anyone that doesn't know about Dirtgirlworld and Get Grubby. Give us a little bit of an introduction to that and an outline of why nature play and nature is at the very core of the work that you've been doing for so long now.
Yeah, well, hi everybody. It's lovely to be on the stream, enjoying and just making sure everyone can hear me. We've had a technologically challenging day today in the Northern Rivers with no landline, no mobile, and then the power went out. So I'll just do a nice deep breath and here we go. Hey, yeah, look, Dirtgirlworld is, of course, for the last 10 years has been working, or a little over 10 years, has been hanging out with kids and getting grubby with them. And there's been a lot of nature art and a lot of nature play happening. I was reflecting back on things while I was preparing this afternoon, and I was thinking about the fact that we've had very muddy, like a lot of mud artwork in Dirtgirlworld, of course. But I think when we kind of sit back and think about it, yeah, I get it. Nature art does help kids be curious, and it ignites their imagination, and it helps them discover and explore. It gets them to go outside and spend time looking for materials, looking for inspiration. It does all that. It also has an incredible capacity to get kids to think strategically, or looking with mathematics, with patterning, or and then even art skills like rubbings and leaf pressing and printing and stenciling, all of those sorts of things. When we're talking about young kids, where we're sort of predominantly working with the 4 to 10-year-old mob, and I think that that's important too. But I think there's something else that's going on here, and one of the things that we're trying to kind of just share, and also just be part of a conversation, because it's not about us telling, it's about us standing in the middle of the conversation, is that people are not on top of nature, people are not in control of nature, that we are nature. And it's that sort of thing that when you're a kid and nature becomes not just your playground but your home, then these things become second nature. So that idea of nature first becomes second nature. And that's where we're at. We sort of go, if we're going to create a family of people who love and protect and care for the family of non-people, like all the creatures and all the animals and the rocks and the trees and the plants, then having a lifelong relationship with those things is really important. And the earlier we can start that with our kids, but also with our families, you know, if we as families start doing things like spending time outside, creating art together, playing together, planting trees together, then as well as all the other things that we do, it kind of brings that story of nature in first. We get that beautiful relationship. It becomes second nature that we are nature. And then we protect what we love. And so then it's just not an option for us to do things that are going to kind of diminish or deplete our home or any of the other creatures that we share this planet's with home. And there's something really ephemeral, isn't there, about nature art? There's something non-material about it. You don't have to have tools. You can, you know, but you don't have to have tools. And you don't have to have a massive skill set, really. You can just start by doing and putting things together. You can be inspired by nature itself. You can be inspired by using nature to create something that's in your imagination. But that sort of ephemeral notion, there's not a lot of stuff in our life that it's okay to leave behind. I was specifically talking about that sort of land nature art that we get to do, that you can leave it behind and somebody else can see it, but the wind can blow it away or the soil can take it back into it. And so those things about life and death, that conversations become natural with our kids, that we start really thinking about those cycles. Yeah, it's brilliant. You know, I think it's simple. It costs nothing. That's the other thing. I kind of go, it's not a big outlay, and it's something that people can do together. I reckon that that definitely that notion that when a child or when your child is making nature art, you can do it too. You can't get it wrong. That's the other thing. There's no right or wrong with nature art. It's just kind of, it's just so beautiful. And then if you do get inspired, you know, because it is an actual art form as well. I mean, I bet you guys have been talking about all of the incredibly beautiful land nature art that exists in the world and at festivals, people embroidering on leaves, people stenciling on leaves, cutting out the fine, crazy fine artwork that is also happening with nature. There's lots of inspiration there. So if it ignites something in you or your child and you want to go further, it is a fine art as well as a nature art. So I don't know, we're up for it. I love when we've finished nature art and we go and visit the nature art gallery, you know. So we'll go and stand with all of the kids. They'll have their nature art in front of them on the ground, and we pretend, you know, which it is. We visit their art gallery and they tell us so much. They can speak so deeply about what they've made. It's staggering how just how profound they are. So I think that I think it's great. The other thing we did in New Zealand that I just wanted to mention, after the earthquakes, we went to Christchurch, and this is years ago, and we hung out. And one of the beautiful things we did, which is nature art of a completely different type, which is they put a big string all through the forest, and the kids got given a cardboard cutout frame. And what they did is they went into nature and they found something that spoke to them, and they pegged their frame on the piece of string at their level, was all at kid level. And then to view it, you had to get down where their eye level was and look through the frame, and they would explain what nature they had framed for us. And that just was so beautiful. It was a beautiful activity to do together. Yeah, it was really interesting. So even on that level, taking it right back to people opening up all of their senses, getting our kids to open up all their senses even before they pick something up. But hours of fun to be had, so much joy to be had. Yeah, it's great. And a big hello to everybody who just said hello. Thank you very much. And Imagine Nature on. Fantastic. Some awesome words hanging out there in the stream.
Yeah, you inspired that one that came out. I was just listening and I thought, you were talking, and then I just heard imagination, and I kind of saw it in a new way. So I'm going to claim that back to this conversation on this day. So every time I use that word imagination, I'll always think to this conversation that I had with Kate and Ella. Now, Ella, while Kate was talking, I saw you nodding a lot. Is there anything you want to bounce specifically with Kate there? Because I could see you smiling and rattling the positives as Kate was talking. Is there anything you want to follow up and bounce with Kate a little?
Well, firstly, I just loved absolutely everything you just said, because that's exactly, you know, what I feel is important too. You know, that nature is there for everybody to establish a relationship with, and then, you know, using arts to help create another relationship. Perhaps in some respects, maybe it helps foster a deeper relationship. You know, everything you said was wonderful, and I love that concept of a frame where you then get, you know, down to young people's height and is seeing it, how they're seeing it, and getting an insight into what they have seen in that piece of nature. I love that, and I think one of the other things that I feel as a then sort of taking off my artist hat for 2 seconds and putting on my businesswoman hat is that actually within engaging with nature, there are huge employment opportunities and economic growth in the space that is ultimately informed by that engagement with nature. And that's one of the other things I feel like is, you know, in that moment of young people, and for all of us, you know, engaging with nature in itself is enough. But then for parents, I suppose, you know, thinking then about, well, actually then there's job potential that could come out of that, you know, fostering and nurturing that relationship with nature and that connection with nature, you know, because there's huge growth
when you think about how many people like have taken sport and fitness out into nature, you know, like they do, you know, they're using nature as their gym, for example. So then there is all of these opportunities for curated experiences, because, people have been disconnected. And while some people are really cool and they can, majority of us can kind of step out and go for it, having somebody to curate or lead situations, even with single families, it doesn't have to be massive group stuff. It's just having that nature friend who organizes and does things to get that kind of comfort zone happening. I agree with you. I think there are so many things that people can be doing to tell the story of their naturehood with other people, and I think that there are great opportunities for that to be happening all over the place. At beaches, in parks and gardens, and also there's all those levels of stories that happen then, of course, because what we're talking about is that next level on, how are we caring for nature? Those conversations become natural. Or what's that plant over there? Or who are these creatures? I think it just opens up that notion of having a nature buddy who can be with families and kids and groups. I think it's a lovely idea.
Yeah, the listening to what you're saying there, the capacity to actually take someone else's point of view, I think, is something that has taken a very serious dint in the last few years, because just the extreme impatience that people have with someone that they don't necessarily see eye to eye with. They don't give it a chance to incubate and potentially come to a place where there will be common threads. It's like you're either with us or you're against us. I don't see anything in there. Whereas that one thing with art is it puts questions. It fires little sort of incendiary devices that opens and explodes different thoughts without actually saying it overtly. The banner's not there. It's not, I'm marching against you. And that is what the beauty of art and music and everything, Ella, that you've been talking about, and Kate equally for that matter, being able to put a frame around it, but look through the lens with an open mind and be patient to allow the view to have its say, rather than predetermine and predispose your position on the view and on that lens before you've even looked in there. And that's been unfortunately kind of what's happened over the last, the last 3 or 4 years. You feel that impatience and that anger and frustration that people have been corralled into these boxes. And it's like, that whole thing of you're in here or you're not in there, or you're part of this, but if you're part of that, you're not part of me. And so I think the art of children has an incredibly powerful mechanism of subtlety to bring ideas to the table without jamming them down someone's throat, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And when Kate talked about the looking at a child's art, but looking at it from their level, and when I do nature art museums and the children each then have to present it, and I think the presenting of it is as important as the art itself, because they can then not only see it, but they have to articulate it. And when they articulate it and they get put on the spot, that's a wonderful learning. And to be able to nurture that and support them in it as they do that, I have seen some of the most transformative things that literally have the parents in the audience of the gallery in tears, because they've never actually seen their little one step up like that. And here they've been given that window to step into a world where it's not what they know and it's not who they are. And And that, I think, is the power of art, that ability to cloak and recloak and throw away cloaks of canisters and just step into a new space, and to give children that chance, and to go down and look through the sticks into the room, which is the chamber, and then you go through that down to the subterranean Narnia land, where inside that they've laid three beds of food and this and that, all of that, like, and the more we can get into it and the more we can immerse, then what we're actually doing is freeing their creativity, and we're not labeling it, we're not judging it, and that's what they need more than ever.
Exactly. It's helping give
absolutely. I think when they describe it too. Oh, you go for it, Ella.
No, sorry, Kate, go on.
I was going to say too that giving them the opportunity to describe isn't saying use words either. I mean, we've had kids do a dance to explain to us what their art is about. We've had kids sing songs. We've had them say, it makes me feel like this, or and so all of a sudden, and all of that stuff that we talk about when we talk about the creative inside, get this incredible opportunity to find different ways. So I know a lot of times people say use your words, but I'm often saying you don't have to use words. What's happening here? When they get stuck, go for it. And yeah, look, it is incredible. And what Costa was saying about the times that we're living in, at these times, of course, sometimes art is not highly supported, because we're, as artists, we're troublesome. We like to shine spotlights on things and speak up and give different opinions and leave space for everybody to find a way to be together. And I think that's what I love about art. We find a way to be together, and like nothing else can. And so when we are asking people to change their relationship with nature, because we need to, it's, rather than being dogmatic about it, being more, this stuff, connecting more, being more, exploring more, being inspired more, is a pathway to love and connection and understanding that makes it impossible not to care, and that we have to find that place for ourselves, to find that place. And I don't know whether we're going to do it by turning on the telly and being yelled at by the news, but I do reckon we're going to do it by stepping outside and spending time in nature.
Exactly. I was just going to say as well, and what you've said, Kate, actually reinforced it in a way, was that I think that art can also really act as a great communication tool to give people who perhaps are struggling to say things with words, but they can maybe then say it through a piece of art that then maybe, like you're saying, Costa, they can then maybe find the words themselves, or not. And I mean, one of the things that is also brilliant in the act of creating an artwork is it can give confidence. And if somebody has perhaps different abilities, that means that they can't communicate in the same way, or that there are different types of abilities, you can't see that in an artwork, and maybe art actually gives them a tool to communicate, and I think that that's like a really, and I believe that actually in a way art and nature together as two things, and then art in nature perhaps brings them together a bit, is the both of things in a way add that offer that accessibility to people of all abilities, of all cultures, of all skin color, all backgrounds, all socioeconomic backgrounds. It is a leveler, it's sort of democratizing. And I think that confidence thing is important too. I think when you finish a piece of art, as an artist myself, when I finish a piece, I always feel really oh yeah, I've completed it. I get a real high from it, and I think that there's something to be said in that, in the the benefits, mental well-being benefits for young people too.
Well, that takes me back to this question, which
I think I just put it up like that.
The one about how's the programming interacting.
I was going to say too.
I saw that earlier, and I thought I'll bring that up, and then Ella, you kind of brought the question out before I popped it on. So yeah, it certainly is interacting with children with disabilities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see how I've seen it in people, whether it's older people who have dementia, they can find a pathway that kind of can make sense of some of their thoughts through creating an artwork, and I think that is fascinating. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I find that really interesting. And then you also see it the other end of the spectrum, young people who are severely autistic, or other. I'm really sorry, I don't remember the exact correct wording, but other special superpowers where actually art can. You don't see it. You don't see any of those things that perhaps some people have prejudices against people. In an artwork, it just is a total leveler. I don't feel anyone should have any prejudices towards anybody or anything on this planet, but the reality is some people do, and what I love is that art removes any of that. It's a total equalizer.
One of the activities that we did in Christchurch on that incredible trip too was that we had mirrors, and all through this park there were mirrors down low, so that if you were in a wheelchair you could glance down at the mirror and see all the like the canopy of the forest. And so that was just so unbelievable, that a simple thing as a mirror when we're looking at perspective with kids. And so it's something that I take with me now wherever we go, is I have a couple of little mirrors in my bag in case, well, kids they've got some mobility issues, or they get dizzy or anything, so that then also holding mirrors underneath leaves so you can see what's underneath them, getting that kind of understanding that there's many ways to view things. And I would never have thought of that if we hadn't have been in a forest that had obviously thought of that. I just, it's great. So incredible. Hey, did you see that lovely comment, Costa, from Ange there, which was, started off with having a little chat. Yeah, it's like, that's a beauty. Whop that up. That's cool. Obviously, Ange started off with the thing about not labeling and judging art, which is great. That's lovely.
Yeah.
But this thing about when we paint with rosemary, using different brushes with kids, because we do this all the time. But planting the rosemary in the first place and understanding that there you go, plant and grow. I worked at one space that had a dye and weaving garden. So they planted a special garden in the center that had all things that you could weave with or use to dye things with, like an art garden. And that's cool. We should have way more of them, I reckon. I think we'll start to see these things pop up. But yeah, I'm all for that. Anyone who's an educator out there, plant an art garden.
Yeah, that's so good. And I mean, even from that to something like Tyler here, who said, it's been great to see the kids at my workplace, landscape maintenance in a high density residential estate, asking me and the landscape maintenance team if we've seen any weird bugs or other critters. Totally beats an iPad screen. Great to show them what's in and around the garden and what ecosystems, biomes exist in their backyard. I mean, thanks, Tyler. Then you think, wow, they can creatively express one of those insects. And when you go into macro on an insect, the pattern of the scales is enough to become an incredible artwork in its own right. So there's so many lenses and filters and zooms with which we can move into
Absolutely.
everything that Kate and Ella, you've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. there's lots of examples in you know, through history of people who've done phenomenal things and really made history by sort of quite simply drawing on nature. You know, yes, maybe they're seeing it through a slightly different lens, but you know, Da Vinci had so many inventions that haven't even sort of, you know, come to bear, but everything was drawn from nature. You know, the golden section, the way that we ultimately still really, or the things that dictate our the architecture of the world are predominantly drawn from nature, and his tool was drawing and scribbles and ideas and notes. And you know, he used art really as a way of innovating, and down the line now that is still informing us today about so many things that are fundamental to the way that we live, really.
Absolutely. Wow. Hey, Costa, do you want to?
Yeah.
I think if I share screen, I made this little clip of some of the nature art. Most of it's stuff that we've been doing over the last year and a bit with kids, but some of it's just other stuff I love because I couldn't bear not to put it in. It's short as. Should I share screen and we'll have a little 100%. Look at that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. That's a nice way to start to zero in and wrap up. It's been amazing, and I'll be stoked to see this.
All right, I'm sharing now. Let's see how we go. Come on, you can do it. Share screen. There it is. Oh, I've got to push play. That always helps. Oh, we can talk at the same time.
Oh, look at that.
Oh. Sweet.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, mud pie. That mud pie looks good to me. Oh, these are from the Mud Pie Bake Off, yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I like the carrot icing. Oh, those goggles. I mean, it gives you an idea how to make nature doll clothes.
Fab. That's beautiful.
Nature paintbrushes.
Oh, that's nice.
Lee, we're all here. You're not hearing. We're just caught in a bit of nature awe. Nothing to hear. Yeah, thanks, Pascal. No, there's nothing to hear here.
Oh, I just
that bird.
The inspiration that bird gives me. It's just beautiful. I don't know. It's pure joy, pure bliss, isn't it? It's just a beautiful. The woman. I'll put up her name later. Oh, the work she's doing is just incredible. But there we go.
Oh,
so much gorgeousness. You know, that all that stuff at the beginning with the kids dressing in nature. It's hard not to be happy every day when that's your world, I can tell you.
Thank you for sharing that, Kate. That was really lovely to see.
I think John said it there. Children are the ultimate nature lovers because they haven't been forced against it. They haven't been drawn into this extraction consciousness and this battle and conquer and compete sort of narrative. So I think that's.
I think they're also shorter. I think they're closer to it too. You know, like when you only have to go like that and you're kind of in it, it's like.
Exactly. Oh wow, there's more. It's pure joy.
I don't know about you two, but I also feel like most of my kind of strongest favorite memories through all life involve nature. You know,
absolutely,
like this thing, doesn't it? And if we want to give young people more fabulous memories, then let's all get out into nature more.
Especially at the moment, when you think about up in our hood at the moment, if you're under 8, then your memories are full of. I'm just looking up that artist's name, by the way, to give to everybody. But if you're under 8 and you live here or in a lot of Australia, your memories are full of a drought, a bushfire, and a pandemic. And we need to do everything we can to rewire that for that generation. We just need to be giving, because some kids might start thinking nature's their enemy, because there's a lot of kind of stuff coming at them that comes from an overabundance of fire and an overabundance of heat and an overabundance of water with a flood. And I think that we should be doing everything we possibly can to be rewiring childhood so that becomes just part of their world and not their total memory.
That is a very good point. I not being in Australia, I hadn't thought about, that concern that actually nature could become the enemy, and it's obviously should be the polar opposite.
Yeah. And there's a lot of narrative that has been consistently driven, and then in the debriefs it's then repeated again that this is bad and we've got to do this and we've got to control and we've got to clear and we've got to burn more and we've got to get clear even wider passages of land and there's so much narrative around conflict and confrontation. So really good point, Kate. It's part of what we do, but it's really nice to hear it in the context of an art exhibition, because we are breaking that down through this activity.
Yeah. Well, making nature our lovely friend rather than an enemy. Now, I'm just putting that little, it's Hannah Bullen Reiner, and I've just popped her name up. If you want to kind of dive into her glorious world of leaf and beautiful nature birds, there you go. Knock yourselves out.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, having both of you on tonight has been an absolute pleasure. Ella, I suppose, well, actually, Kate, would you like to give a final a final thought, and then I'll go to Ella to wrap up about the project and a final wrap for everyone to understand where they can connect. So, what would you like to finish with, Kate, after such a wonderful contribution?
I popped up that quote by Paul Cézanne, which is "Art is harmony parallel with nature," and I do love that quote. But I also love the notion that we're moving more and more to we are nature. So when we are doing nature art, we're doing the art of ourselves and our non-human kin. We're spending time, you know, in our ecosystem of us, learning more and more about the bits that we don't know or understand, and discovering more and more, as kids discovering everything, as scientists discovering a little bit more all the time, but the whole time everything's expanding. We know we only know a little bit of this, so the more that we can be sharing, expressing, and doing with each other, the better. Can't get it wrong. Have a go, really, and yeah, it's the time. It's the right time for us to be doing this as well.
Thanks, Kate. Really wonderful to see the depth with which you've been working for so long now, and the layers that you bring to education of children, which inadvertently is educating and giving tools to adults to carry that education through every day. And it's such a wonderful responsibility that we can all be part of, and we can all reflect in the comments, the looks, the words, but equally, as we saw just now, the silence, because the silence is often more powerful than the noise. So thank you so much, Kate. And now, Ella, tell us, give us a final wrap on what people can do, or, you know, not only just up to this week and Monday, but, you know, how they can engage with the project ongoing, because you guys are here for the long haul.
We are, and I suppose firstly I want to say that, you know, this is always such a treat to connect with like-minded people, both you and Kate, and then everybody who has joined us from Australia and around the world. You know, it's wonderful, and I think that really shows the, you know, the strength in a community that is around art and nature. And so for anybody who has a young person part of their community, please do encourage them to get involved. It's Australia Art and Nature, and it's available, and we are calling for all young people to send us their artworks and become part of this global movement, really, that is around mental well-being, engaging with nature, and the joy of creating art. So please do encourage that, and we are open to any and all artworks from young people under 18, and hopefully then they may even be a part of the music video that will launch on the 22nd of March. And the programme will be run annually, and you know, we're hoping to be able to build on other opportunities throughout the year for young people to continue to engage, so that it can just keep building on the impact.
Wow, well, Ella, that's it's really exciting. It's wonderful to have connected with you. So good to have been able to bring this really fantastic audience that has come to us through Dirtgirlworld and through my pages and through your page as well. Just fantastic to see the comments. We'll certainly go through and have a close look at the comments and respond to things, I'm sure. But yeah, everything you need to know is in these links here. I'll post them up onto the posts so that you can follow them, but it's pretty straightforward. If you go to Australia Art in I'm just following it. There it is. AustraliaArtInNature.com. I was following the banner, the scrolling banner. I was going Australian Nature Art, Australia Art in Nature. Best wishes for the project. It's been a real treat to be able to get this insight into it, and we should catch up again in. I don't know when's the timeline. Did you say we should catch up again in a month or so when the music video and all of those things go ahead, and maybe we can have a little chat before it goes out or when it's out, and you can tell us how it's gone, and people can just sort of see how it's all played out, and maybe have a look at some of the art, share with us some of the art that you've got in, and share your headaches with trying to choose art to go in and all of that stuff. I'm sure there's going to be lots of great things to choose from.
That would be lovely. I feel like I could talk all day, all evening, all week, all year to you, Costa. So whenever we can find a time to talk again, that would be wonderful.
Fantastic. Kobe has just said, will this be a yearly art event? And I think you said moments ago that yes, Kobe, it is. So it's something that you'll be able to follow. So lock on to the socials as well, and if you follow the social media, the different social handles, which are Facebook and Instagram, but also the website, you'll be able to see some of the artwork as it's coming in. People are sharing some amazing stuff on the Instagram and Facebook. There's even Twitter as well, and of course the hashtags Australia Art in Nature, Sisters Grimm, and Art in Nature Global, because it is a global project. So jump on and follow those, and that way you can keep an eye on it, and we'll catch up again and chat to you real soon, Ella.
Thank you. Thanks, Costa. Have a great evening.
You too. See ya.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. Well, there you go. 2 nights in a row, busting new ground there, and I couldn't be happier. So enjoyable to go from the wonderful farmer incubator project on growing young farmers to Ella and Petra's project, Art in Nature, which is growing connection. Well, they're both really, I see the connection in both of them, because they're both about connecting young people to nature, and as Ella said, it's also about connecting them through their food as well, by understanding nature. So thanks, everyone. Two great interviews, 2 nights in a row. I'm absolutely pumped. I'll be pacing around the room for an hour at least, just to settle down. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Watch this space for the next live. I'll keep you posted. Absolute treat. Have a great rest of the week. We're only up to Wednesday tomorrow. Thanks, Rebecca, Ange, for all your comments. Sharon, Pascal, you were just right into it, Pascal. Thanks for all of your comments all night. Tyler, Kobe, thanks for coming in. Johnny Neve, great engagement as well. To everyone, Karen Sanchez up on the sunny coast. Thanks, Michelle and Lee. Really enjoyed your input. So from me and all my known buddies, ciao for now. See ya.